Good morning, everyone. I'm Professor Grafton White, Director of the Namibia Business School. Thank you once again for joining us in this really exciting series of webinars on becoming gig entrepreneurs in a post-coronavirus economy. Welcome back to those of you who are returning, and welcome to those that are joining for the first time. If there's anyone in that position, that's welcome. Okay, we just remind ourselves Gigonomics is about understanding work in the post-coronavirus economy, where people will have to learn how to work as gig entrepreneurs, not employees, embrace the uncertainty of the gig economy, work increasingly with a portfolio of gigs, short assignments, or multiple parallel assignments, and derive their main source of income from gig working. We said, and our bold statement is that CVs going forward will be a record of great performances, not time spent. We've identified through our research here at Namibia Business School that the key areas of understanding and learning that entrepreneurs, gig entrepreneurs in particularly, don't tend to understand are in these 6 key areas. Understanding their products or services, operations to create those products or services, human capital, that is the people that you need to interface with, recruit, employ, to work and help your vision to become a reality. Customers and markets, clearly it's important if the company, the business is going to survive. Finances, we like to say that's just keeping score. And strategy, which is the subject for today, and that's really about staying relevant and sustainable for the long term. Brief recap, session 5 last week, we talked about finance, and in that we learned about 3 main things, about record keeping, financial record keeping, and how we need to maintain good practice and get into good habits right at the outset. And also we learned how to generate reasonably simple income statements and cash flow forecast statements that will help us to manage and keep our business healthy and liquid, and help us to track our profitability different from our cash. I think what we said here in the sessions, we made a clear distinction between cash, income, profit, and all those good things that maybe you were fuzzy about before you joined this course. Excellent. This week, we're going to talk about strategy. What we're saying here is that we want to understand and we want to develop plans that will effectively, that are effective for success and that will last. So we want to plan effectively for our own success as gig entrepreneurs and success that will last. Before we go much further, let's have a quick chat. Let's see what's out there among yourselves. What experience have you had so far when it comes to strategy? Has anyone been involved, engaged with strategy up until this point? Give me an idea of the level of engagement with strategy, setting strategy, implementing strategies so far. Thank you. Getting some comments coming through. Thank you, Charlton. It's saying it keeps the triple constraints intact. Helena's saying that yes, she's had some experience. It's sometimes easy to mold a strategy, but somewhat difficult to execute the strategy. That's interesting. Thank you very much. That's an experience of many people who have set strategies and found it difficult actually implement the strategy effectively. Katrina's thank you for that, saying it's difficult to sometimes even set the strategy because there are so many options available to us in our working environment. So yeah, that's a very interesting point. And yeah, to be fair, this is true, especially in a complex society in which we live. There are lots of complexities, we use the word, but of the complexities within the economies, and that tends to pull out different options. But I hope today that by having some method and having some clear ideas about how to approach this, you'll be able to navigate more successfully through the strategic minefield. And yes, thank you, Charlton. You were referring to cost, quality, and schedule or time. So yeah, thank you very much for that. Okay, so moving on, let's start with a simple definition, if you like. What does it mean being strategic in business? It means our business being responsive to the market and competitors, being competitive in our environment, and more importantly, I suppose, being sustainable. It's interesting, the idea of sustainability, because we often think about sustainability in one sort of dimension, is that being there for the long term. Actually, that's not necessarily true, because sometimes we can engage in businesses which are, and we know from the outset, they are fads. I suppose if in the UK we have this annual event called the Red Nose Day, where they collect money for charities, different charities, by buying red noses, like clowns, big red noses. And when that idea was first mooted, it was seen as a fad. It's going to be there for 1 year. That was built into the strategic thinking. However, that particular initiative has now been going on for sort of 20 odd years, and every year the red nose has a different variation. So the point I want to make there is that sometimes having a fad business, something that has got a limited shelf life, either because people go off the idea or other Me Too operators will come in there and the market will disappear. Knowing that up front is actually also allows you the opportunity to diversify your business and come up with new products for when the life of that particular product is going to die out. So sustainability may not be sustainability of the product or service you're offering itself, but maybe sustainability of the whole enterprise by developing new products and new services and thinking about that early on, rather than having engaged in a business thinking it's going to be there for 10 years and then finding at end of year 2 your business is dead because it wasn't sustainable for one reason or another, and you haven't begun to think about what you replace it with. So I think sustainability is very important. It's not just about sustainability of your product or service, but sustainable thinking or a sustainable attitude towards business. Yeah. So you think about business and you think about your gig enterprise with sustainability in mind. So strategic planning is a bit like being a sports coach, and we're going to be using two strains of thinking, two metaphors, if you like. We're going to be using the sports metaphor for a lot of our examples, as well as our cake business which we picked up in earlier sessions. So it's a bit like being a sports coach, and a good sports coach will ask certain sorts of questions. For instance, he will do first part is a situation analysis. What shape are we in? What are the conditions that we're playing likely to be? He will be interested in this. He will want to know what the purpose is of the team. What's our overall purpose? This equates to our mission. What do we stand for as a junior basketball team? What do we stand for? What are our values, in other words? And clearly, what do we want to achieve? What do we want to be? Where do we want to be in 3-5 years? That's our vision and how we are going to achieve it. So what's our strategy for achieving our goals? And that's the strategic plan. And these are, in a very simple terms, these are the sort of things that we need to be looking at in terms of strategy: our situational analysis, our mission, our values, our vision, and our strategic plan. So today we're going to introduce some tools as usual, and which is the sort of very focal point of our sessions. The tools we're going to be introducing today are mission, vision, and values. So the tools for thinking around those areas. Understanding situation analysis, and we're going to focus on the SWOT analysis, which is a very simple tool, but very powerful. You know, the very biggest and smallest companies, global companies, use SWOT analysis. And then strategic planning. We're going to introduce you two tools for strategic planning. One is the balanced scorecard, and secondly, scenarios and scenario planning as a tool. So, starting with mission, vision, and values. Our focus here is going to be more on vision and values, but we think about mission, vision, and values as strategic intent. What's our strategic intent? And our strategic intent is often expressed as our mission, vision, and values of the company. So let's just, again, another quick poll here at this point. Which of these visions is the best? A, we work hard to be a company that our shareholders, customers, and society wants. B, our vision is a computer on every desktop in every home. C, we will be #1 in our industry and strive for double-digit sales and growth over the next 5 years. Or D, as a reliable partner for our customers, we count on innovation, creativity, and consistent customer focus, as well as on top performance in all areas. The 4 options. Let's quickly do a poll and see what responses are. Let me see your scores. Okay. What are my scores so far? What am I polling so far?
The majority chose we will be #1 in our industry and strive for double-digit sales and growth over the next 5 years. And now it's tying with D. So the majority is going for C, and it's a tie.
Okay, all right, excellent. The next video will give us an indication of some of the answer to this question, and maybe you'll change your view. But let's go through there and let's see what.
Do you have a vision for your company? I mean, a statement, a phrase, or a description which tells where your business is heading, what you want to achieve, and why your company exists. I mean, don't get confused with these pseudo visions of corporate world. So forget this kind of visions like, as a reliable partner for our customers, we count on innovation, creativity, and consistent customer focus, as well as on top performance in all areas. Blah, blah, blah. Sorry, but that is just a bunch of buzzwords. It means nothing. It doesn't say anything. How does this statement help to differentiate to any other company? It doesn't. Everyone wants to be a reliable partner. Every company wants to be customer focused. Want another example of bad visions? We work hard to be a company that our shareholders, customers, and society want. Oh, come on. That is boring. That's so generic. That can be true for almost every company. And here's another great vision. We will be the #1 in our industry and strive for double-digit sales and profit growth over the next 5 years. What? That's not a vision. Maybe the investors love this statement, but it's not a vision. But what's about the customers, the employees and partners of these companies? Does this statement inspires, energize, or motivates anyone? No, it doesn't. Sorry guys, in the corporate world, this kind of vision statements are totally useless. What is a true vision? A true vision, people often get confused with what is the difference between vision and mission. So very briefly, a vision tells where you are going, and a mission tells why your business exists. But don't think too much about these definitions and what is what. It's not that important, at least not for you as an entrepreneur. If you are an entrepreneur and running a small business, you should focus on the two major questions. First, why does your business exist? And second, where do you want your business to go? To make it very clear, the first question is by far the most important one. Why does your business exist? I mean, what is the purpose of your company? Generally speaking, there's only one purpose. And no, sorry guys, it's not to earn money. It's to satisfy the needs of customers. So think about, who are your customers? What customers do you focus on? And what does your company do to satisfy the needs of these customers? How does your company help, and whom does your company help? Now, if we are talking about a vision, think big. Why is your company important, or at least it will be important in the future? Now let's have a look on some examples of great visions. Our vision is to cure the world of breast cancer. Man, that's great. An entrepreneur who is deeply committed to develop a cure for cancer. This guy will surely have little difficulties to attract employees, right? A true vision inspires, energizes, and motivates. Our vision is to provide freedom and independence to people with limited mobility. Great. Our vision is a computer on every desktop and in every home. Well, quite successful. Imagine a world in which every single person is given free access to the sum of all human knowledge. The question is, why are these visions so great? These visions are so great because they connect with emotions. These visions show that the entrepreneur or the company strive to solve a meaningful problem. It's not about money. It's about solving a problem which makes the world a better place, which helps people. And that will inspire other people. They will feel that the vision is important and useful, and that's why they want to support the vision and be part of it, as an employee, as a customer, or as a supplier. So my question to you is, what's your vision?
Back to our little poll, after hearing the difference between mission and vision, and the ideas about what makes for a good vision statement, even great vision statement, is the linking up with a clear statement of where the company wants to be in the future. And of the examples that we had earlier on, which we put to you, vision statement B was the one that we would have selected. B being our vision is a computer on every desktop in every home, which was the Microsoft vision. So, summarizing, good vision statements engage the emotions. They focus on the solution for the customer. They speak to all your stakeholders, not just the investors or shareholders. And they inspire, energize, and motivate. They really, these are the basic components of it. So we need to be clear about our vision, and this is a starting point to our strategy. It's one of the things we say, and most analysts in this area talk about the vision, the mission, the vision, and values, and that all of these three things, components, need to be there. we're going to cover all the three areas, but just to say at this point that we think that of the three things, the mission, vision, values, it's really about the vision and the values that are most important, especially from a gig entrepreneur's point of view. Okay, back to our basketball story. The coach of the basketball team, there with these young budding basketball stars, his vision is that is about what they want to achieve, what they want to be. Our vision is, in this instance, our vision is to be a center for positive child development in the community. Our vision is to be a center for positive child development in the community. It was really interesting. This is not about winning loads of trophies, etc. It's about the vision here is about developing child and giving children a very positive sense of identity through sport, which is great. And the mission, what's their purpose? To give children a meaningful activity that is fun and healthy. Give children meaningful activity that's fun and healthy. Again, there's no emphasis on the competitiveness here. It's about meaningful activity. The values, again, for our little sports coach and teams, the values is what we stand for. This is quite important. You know, what do we stand for? The values to me set the boundaries of how the business or how your enterprise will work. Okay, we want to have fun. We want to have fun in everything we do. We want it to be healthy. So we want to promote healthy diet and exercise as a lifelong habit. Sportsmanship, we are supportive and respectful towards our teammates and opponents. It's about inclusion. We actively include all children in the team, regardless of race, culture, gender, or ability. And equity, we provide access and full participation of children who'd normally be excluded. So this is very much the sort of things you expect from a local children's sport team. A point on the mission statement. The mission statement is interesting because a mission talks about a higher purpose, and it's usually, a mission is usually associated with some kind of social enterprise or kind of organization with a higher purpose, rather than a strictly speaking profitable or profit-seeking enterprise. Okay, so we've covered the idea of the vision, the mission, the vision, and values. Let's bring it closer to home. I'm working on our cake example that we've been working on for the last few weeks. What is the vision for our cake business? What do we want to be? What do we want to achieve? So your vision should be your ultimate ambition, not a small, easily attainable goal, because that's too easy and it doesn't stretch the organization. It should state the overall solution to satisfy customers' needs. And to create a vision, it helps to visualize what you want to become in the long run. So in 5 years, how do we see ourselves? What do we see our cake business looking like in the next 5 years? That's the vision statement. So let's do another poll. Here are a set of visions for our cake business. Tell me which one do you think is best. Launch our poll again. We've got 4 options here. Our vision is A, increasing cake sales to 100 per week by 2025. B, a network of bakeries across the country offering an exclusive customized cake experience. C, to satisfy all our customers' needs through reliable service, quality products, and creative ideas. D, the #1 specialty cake company in Namibia. To be the #1 specialty cake company in Namibia. Those are our 4 options. Let's quickly again do a poll and
So 45% went to C, satisfy all customer needs, and then 36% went to B. Only 9 went to A and D. So the winner is C.
Okay, the winner is B. Is it B or
No, C.
did I get you right?
C. To satisfy all our customers' needs.
Right, so it's C. Okay, that's what we've got. I'm trying to see what the good. Okay, thank you. Actually, from our own analysis, B is the strongest vision statement. B is a network of bakeries across the country offering an exclusive customized service. Why B? B focuses on the solution to the customer. I can understand why folks are going for C, but C is more of a process statement. You know, it's telling us how we're going to do it. So it's more leaking into a strategy. But B is telling is a sort of a vision statement that says, you know, in 5 years' time or so, you know, we want to be a network of bakeries across the country offering exclusive, customized cake experience. You can see why mission, vision, and value statements are so difficult. Moving on, let's try it out ourselves. What's our purpose? So our mission, what is our purpose? Your mission should describe why you are doing what you're doing. Yeah. Again, quick poll. Which of these statements most accurately describes why we're doing what we're doing? The 4 options are: we provide a high quality homemade cakes and personalized service experience. We bake cakes for private and corporate customers. C, we become the best cake shop in Africa. D, we create quality cakes by training our staff to a high standard and sourcing the best local ingredients. Again, quickly launch out our poll. There's you going to launch the poll, great. I'm getting some feedback. Right, I'm seeing a spread of options here. Okay, so the best option here is D. We create quality cakes by training our staff to a high standard and sourcing the best local ingredients. Again, I mean, we could get into a long debate about what these statements, and this is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to set visions and mission statements, especially mission statements. But why are we selecting D? A is a bit more corporate. We provide high quality homemade cakes and a personalized service. That's more of a corporate type and not really suitable to a sort of a gig entrepreneur. B might suit an NGO. We bake cakes for private and corporate customers. And C could be the values for an engineering company. You know, we've become the best cake shop in Africa. Yeah. So again, we're not trying to be hard and fast here. What we're saying is that you need to come up with a vision and mission statements that are suitable and energize your people and make sense for you as an organization. And if you're just a one-person operation, makes sense for you. But if you're going to want to sell that idea to other people, then having a vision and some kind of mission statement. Like I said, mission statements, we qualified that. We said that mission statements tend to work with social enterprises and they're clearer with social enterprises. But for a private profit-making company, a mission statement tends to be perhaps over the top. Okay, now I'm going to back up a bit. I said D, didn't I? I am wrong. I'm wrong. A is the best option. Apologies. A is the best option. We provide high quality homemade cakes and personalized service. So I stand corrected. It was A, and most of you said A. So thank you very much for that feedback. Because when we did a background check, we found that a lot of these statements all from different cake companies. We saw most of these statements in play. And sorry, the D statement, which I alluded to earlier, we create quality cakes by training our staff to a high standard and sourcing the best local ingredients, is almost mixing with you're almost moving into a strategy statement there. So that was the point that I failed to make there. So thank you very much. The abundance of words was it can sometimes confuse. So on our mission statement here, very clearly, no, not very clearly, but our mission statement here, A is the strongest option. We provide high quality homemade cakes and a personalized experience. That's why we exist. Thank you. Okay, so in our third area, we're looking at values. What are our values? What do we stand for? Our values, what do we stand for? Your values are the principles you want to run your business by that will guide your decisions, interactions. They should be aligned with your mission and vision. Your values need to be continuously upheld, so they need to be highly relevant and memorable. And you need to tend to stick towards 3 to 5 core principles that everyone in the business can understand and keep in mind. And your value statements will explain how each principle shows up in the business. What do we stand for? Again, remember I said about values, they represent the boundaries of the business, their boundary statements. So, you know, this is what we will do, this is what we won't do. So these tend to help you set the boundaries for how you want to do business. And a particular example that I bring to the table, I'm just thinking of Lenovo, the computer supplier, manufacturer. They have a really great vision statement. Sorry, value statement when you look on their website. And it's 3 things they say. We do what we say, we own what we do, we wow our customers. Those are really nice, memorable value statements. Repeat, we do what we say, we own what we do, and we wow our customers. Unfortunately, when you make such bold statements, you've got to live up to it. Unfortunately, there is a site called Hello Peter, where people who have problems with suppliers can go in there and complain about those suppliers. And typically the best organizations quickly pick up those complaints and respond to it. When you go on those sites, you see a lot of complaints about Lenovo. And one of the things you see there is that the company does not respond. They've got no response from the company. So if you're going to set values, you've got to live up to them. So again, a quick poll. Our values are, again, for our cake business, teamwork and high performance, commitment, integrity, environmental sustainability, social equity, financial ethics, and service delivery. C, design, product quality, efficiency, and consistency. And D, customer delight, sustainable sourcing, creative innovation, and people development. Those are the four. And I'm sure you've already guessed that the right answer there is D, which I got mixed up with the previous one. You want to delight your customer, provide sustainable sourcing, be creative and innovative, and develop your people. So I won't labor this one. The correct answer here for your value statement, which would be more appropriate to this size of company, would be D. Cake company seeks to delight its customers, engage in sustainable sourcing, be creative and innovative, and develop its people. Thank you. So that was a summary of our mission, vision, and values. The next area that we want to go into is our situation analysis using SWOT. So situation analysis helps us to answer the question, what shape are we in? What are the conditions that we're playing in, if we take in the coach example? What are the strengths and weaknesses of our players and the suitability of the club facilities? All of these things are situation analysis, things that will impact us. The SWOT analysis is a very useful tool because it enables us, it gives us a template of how to answer these questions in a logical form that brings a sort of completeness to the argument. So it focuses on 4 quadrants, but in 2 dimensions: internal focus, where we're looking at our strengths and weaknesses, and the external focus, where we're looking at opportunities and threats. Going back to our guiding model, the entrepreneur capacity model, we can apply the SWOT analysis to each area. So if you think about it, we can, use SWOT, strengths and weaknesses, to identify our products and services we want to deliver. Strengths and weaknesses can identify our operations, and we can identify external threats, opportunities and threats for our operations. Similarly, we can do the same opportunities and threats in terms of the products or services we offer. We can do the same, we can analyze our human capital using SWOT, customers and markets, finance and strategy. So again, we can use a SWOT analysis to do a situational analysis in each of the capacity areas in our SWOT and in our using SWOT analysis. I'm getting some comments. Someone's asking, should a vision not be smart? And I think this was raised by, I think Charlton. Charlton, this is a good point. I'm sort of doing a slight detour. This is a good point. Many people argue that a vision statement should be smart. For those of you that are not completely aware of what SMART means, SMART means that it should be specific, measurable, attainable, reliable, and time-bound. However, not everybody subscribes to that view. Some people say that, yes, for instance, the vision statement we had, a computer on every desk, wasn't time-bound. So it wasn't completely smart, but it was visual, it was achievable, it was measurable, and all of those other good things. So again, great vision statements. Forget about missions for the moment, but great vision statements are, you can visualize, and they involve the emotions, or they attract the emotions. Those are great vision statements. Vision statements that are smart, if you like, but don't necessarily grab the emotions or incorporate the emotions in them, tend to be not as strong as ones that do, you know. Yeah, again, Katrina's come in with the same point, that a vision doesn't have to be smart, but it must be aspirational, and it must appeal to the emotions. Again, I would just say that there is divided opinion on this in this area. So some people argue it should be smart, and some people say no. So you know, there are lots of thinking and contrary ideas in this space. So do what works for you. Yeah, do what works for you. As long as you stay within sort of the broad guidelines, I think if it works for you, then that's fine. Okay, so I only brought this one back on to the table to make the point that you can do a SWOT analysis in each of these areas of the capacity model. Okay, so moving on, let's try this out again, taking our cake example bringing it back onto the table. We can analyze our cake business, looking at our strengths, what we're saying that we only use quality ingredients, or quality ingredients is a strength of the business. We have well-trained bakers, and we have a variety of designs that we use. Okay. Our weaknesses is that we only have one decorator, cake decorator. We have a small kitchen, and we have poor cash flow, for instance. Then we follow the same logic, and we look at our opportunities and threats, and we may have concluded that in our opportunities, there's a constant demand for birthday cakes. Banks are offering low interest loans to SMEs, so there's an opportunity there for us to be able to expand our business. The threats are, there is extended corona restriction on events, so that might totally depress our business. And there is a trend towards dietary trends towards healthy eating, and maybe that's not as compatible with our cake business. So we may see that as a threat. So what's the purpose of the SWOT analysis? The purpose of the SWOT analysis, as well as a situation analysis, it is to allow us to set objectives. So once we've done the SWOT, once we've analyzed our situation, it allows us to set objectives that maximize our strengths, minimize our weaknesses, capitalize on opportunities, and overcome threats. Moving on, our strategic planning. So we've done our situation analysis. We know what our strengths are, our weaknesses are. We know what's the opportunities and threats out there in the marketplace because we've done this analysis. We've looked at each of those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and overlaid them against our capacity areas in the for the gig economy. I mean things like our products and services, our operations, our staff, our HR, our finances, marketing, and we've done a thorough analysis on where we are as a business. The next area is to set up the plan, set a strategic plan using, and in this instance, we're going to use the balanced scorecard. Okay, so in our basketball team example, the coach may set, depending on the strengths and weaknesses of the team, he might decide to have set up a specific training program for some of our kids in terms of to improve their fitness and their skills, or select players according to the needs of the team that they're drawn against in the game, etc. So these are the strategies that he might put in place. The balanced scorecard is a strategic approach. Basically allows us to plan over typically a 3 to 5 year time horizon with yearly action plans, which we assess ourselves against. For the business to succeed, it must set objectives in line with the vision. So it should try and align objectives with the vision. And the situational analysis gives rise to objectives that we want to tick off, that we want to achieve. So situational analysis using the SWOT gives rise to objectives, but those objectives, if they're going to help the business move forward, must be in line with the vision of the organization. And this is what the balanced scorecard enables us to do by focusing on taking four key perspectives of the business. Yeah? The balanced scorecard operates by taking four perspectives, or looking at the business from four different perspectives, four different views of the business. These four different views, or these four perspectives, are reading from the financial, but it doesn't stop there. Unlike most other approaches, it says the financial aspect is not the be-all and end-all or measure of the functioning or the success of a business. It also focuses on customers, clearly, and then two others: internal processes and learning and growth. What is it saying? It says, if you want to, from the research work that has been done, and this was some seminal work by two authors called Kaplan and Norton. And what they found, that if you really want to help a company meet its objectives, meet its strategic objectives, these are the four areas that you've got to manage in a very proactive way. And it's really interesting because they align very clearly with our gig entrepreneur capacity areas, or the capacity model. The financial focuses very much on our financial area. Customers is our customers and markets. Internal processes focuses on operations and products. And learning and growth, internal focuses are very much on the operations, and in learning and growth focuses very much on innovation of the product and the people within your organization. So there's a very strong alignment between this thinking and the thinking in terms of the key capacity areas in this study, in this series for gig entrepreneurs. So let me move forward. Okay, this looks very busy, but actually it's quite interesting. First of all, it takes the balanced scorecard, the four perspectives. And remember, we're not saying that the company is made up of just these four areas. What we're saying is that these are four ways of looking at the company that we think cuts through the complexity and allows you to focus on those things that's going to help the company to grow and succeed quickly. So you read from the bottom upwards: learning and growth, internal processes, customers, and financial. Financial is where we want to be, but to get there, we need to start with learning and growth. We need to improve skills of our staff, or improve the tools of our operations. These will lead to process efficiencies. Process efficiencies in terms of our operational processes, internal processes. Process efficiencies will lead to faster outputs, which will, for the customer, translate into lower wait times and better retention of our customers, which should lead to an increase in our revenue, increased profit, and increased profitability. Efficient processes allow us to attract new customers because of lower costs, increased profitability. So the improvements in this area in the learning and growth effectively unlocks other areas of function within the business. So the learning and growth unlocks internal processes, which therefore unlocks opportunities to attract new customers, which then unlocks further financial benefits, ultimately in profitability. Taking the same argument, going through innovation, we're saying that learning and growth, if these are seen as process improvements or improvements to existing business, innovation will lead to totally new products. So sort of focusing on our diversification, differentiation that we talked about in our value chain and operations module. Lead to totally new products, which will invariably lead to new customers, which will increase revenue and profits. So if you remember that discussion on the value chain, we talked about the two overriding strategies there. It's lower cost reduction and new product differentiation in the marketplace. So this translates into sort of gradual improvements that will lower costs, and this the differentiation translates into a path that will increase revenue and new business. So we can see there's an alignment here between the thinking at this level at the strategic level with the balanced scorecard and some of the early work we did. Now I can see that the questions are piling in, and I'm going to pause at this point to answer some of those questions. So let me go to the chat box and see some of those questions that have been piling in. Okay. Okay, so we're still having a debate about vision and mission. So I think Sidano wants to, what do you think of a vision for a farming business, a consumer market producing healthier meat, food and stud? A consumer market, that's the vision for your meat business or your farming business. Yeah. Is it measurable? Is it achievable? Will it inspire your staff? If it works for you, then great. You know, but think about it. Think about it. See, you're saying a consumer market. What do you mean by a consumer market for healthier meat? So that's interesting. Then so time bound, somebody, I think it's Kume's making a point about time bound. Suppose you only want to run your business for a short while. There's a time bound component of the vision statement really come into play. Again, important point, very important point. I remember earlier I talked about fad businesses. I mean, maybe that's a sort of, it sounds pejorative, but it's not really. It's saying that you've started a business, you know it's only got a short shelf life. You know, do you want to go in for mission statement and big vision statement? No, you want to go into that market and you say, hey, there's a short window of opportunity and you just want to focus and do that business. Yeah. So again, let me be slightly controversial here and say that a mission, vision and value statements Vision statements is good for you for your own personal satisfaction, but where these mission, vision, and values become really important for an entrepreneur is when you want to bring other people into the business, either as lenders or sort of financiers or staff or just people who you are collaborating with, then it makes sense to have a vision statement at the very least, and maybe a mission statement if it's a social enterprise. If it's a social enterprise, definitely you need to have a mission statement. Otherwise, you're not going to get people to buy into it. So remember the one about breast cancer. Great a vision statement, because it would it sets a vision that people can buy into straight away, and they understand exactly what you're trying to achieve. But if you're I heard a simple example of a business that was started in the last 3 months because of coronavirus in the UK, and they called it Snack Success. Snack Success. It's Snack Success, but instead of the success, they said Snack Success. So Snack Success is a small business, and their idea that they came to the market with was, why don't we do a packaging of short snacks or small snacks that companies can buy for the employees who are stuck at home working from home. So rather than going to the kitchen and preparing snacks which are usually unhealthy, here is a pack of healthy snacks that the company can buy on behalf of their staff. Snackcess. Now, you may take a view that this is going to be a fad product, or you may take a view that actually there could be a long life for it. If working from home becomes a norm, then having healthy snacks that companies can buy for their staff, or staff can buy for themselves. So when they want a snack, they've got seeds and all these sort of interesting little food items that they can just snack on without, and without being caught up with healthy eating or unhealthy snacking. They can do healthy snacking. You may take a view this is going to be a fad product, or it could be a long-term product. It's your view. But the point is that this company was started in 3 or 4 months ago. And in the first month, they sold, I think, 1 or 2 snacks. The second month, they had sold over 50 snacks. The third month, 800. Yeah, really fast growth. Now, I don't know enough about the detail of how much those snacks are costing, and whether this is going to it's going to be a long-term option. But I'm sure there was no vision or mission statement. There was just an idea, and they thought, let's go for it, and they went and they took the plunge. Now that they are talking about funding, growing the business, and maybe supplying these snacks countrywide, now you need to have some kind of vision statement. Now you need to think about your values. Now you need to think about a mission statement. Can you see my point? Because now you're having to communicate with third parties, and you need to, if you want people to invest their time and energy and become and work for this, you need to give them something more than just saying, well, we're going to give you a pay slip at the end of the month, or just invest in us because we think we can make some money. You need to have more than that to say to other people to get them involved. So I'm really suggesting that your mission, vision, and values become critically important when you've bringing in other parties into the picture. Okay, yes, visions can change, and they can change over time. Absolutely, totally agree. Your mission statement should tend to be an enduring statement. I mean, the reason for your existence shouldn't change over time. It should relate to some kind of higher purpose of why you're doing business, and that should stay fairly stable. But I've known companies to change their mission, vision, and value statements, or at least review them every 5 years. So yeah, I think I've addressed most of the chat comments that are coming through. It's interesting that the strategic focus or the strategy module has engendered such discussion. Thank you very much. This is really, really good. Okay, so this table, this model, I think it suggests some really interesting, or it's raising some really interesting points. But let's move on. Okay, so for a simplified process for using the balanced scorecard. The balanced scorecard methodology is quite complex and involves goal setting and creating metrics for measuring those goals and then monitoring these things over time. So it's quite a complex process, and it has its own assessment method. But what we want to do is we want to introduce you to the idea and just basically give you a simple tool. And what we're suggesting is 3 steps. First, for each perspective, remember the 4 perspectives: learning and growth, internal processes, customers, and financial. For each of those perspectives, assess the situation or performance of the company, typically through the SWOT. So that's your situation analysis through the SWOT. Then set your objectives that addresses each of those issues. Set your objectives to reach your goals in each perspective. And then thirdly, identify and plan your actions. Very simple. So do your assessment, set your objectives, make your plan. See if we can apply this. So starting with the learning and growth, we want to achieve our vision, how we will improve and sustain our capacity to deliver. This is the learning growth perspective for our cake business. So we've got our team of bakers and how we're going to achieve our vision. So let's just reflect on that. I don't want to get into a deep discussion. Let's reflect, how can we assess our learning and growth? And the sort of things that might come in here is that in terms of assessing our learning and growth, we might want to do a skills audit, employee engagement survey, for instance, look at our product orders, the popularity of different products, so analyze what we are doing. And then objectives might be that we want to attract, hire, and retain the right people. So look at how we're doing that. Develop skills of people that we already have on board, or our objective might be to develop new products. If we take the customer perspective is to achieve our vision. How should we develop and serve our customers? So we're taking a second perspective of the balanced scorecard, the customer perspective. How are we going to achieve that vision? Let's just reflect for a moment. How can we assess our customer relationships? We assess our customer relationships by customer reviews, analyzing those customer reviews, looking at customer feedback, complaints, compliments, referrals by customers, repeat business, repeat orders, tools like Net Promoter Score, delivery performance, quality performance. All of these give us insights as to what our customers are thinking and giving us feedback on our customer perspective. Those then would feed into some objectives, and some example objectives would be that we might want to differentiate, go for a differentiation strategy from the competition. So find a way of differentiating our products from the competitors. We might look to see how we could retain existing customers, so that we look at customers from a life cycle point of view, rather than looking at taking a transactional point of view, which is just looking at each sale almost as if an isolated instance. We can look at a customer from a life cycle point of view, that once we win a customer, we want to do more and as much as we can to retain that customer, because we know from research that a customer that's bought from you once is more likely to buy from you again. And it's easier to get existing customers to buy from you again than it is to attract new customers. It's a lot cheaper to sell to existing customers. And again, our strategy might be, if we've got customers in a particular age group. Remember, a couple of weeks ago we talked about different generational customers. We might find that by modifying our product slightly, we can actually attract a different generational of customers, or new generation of customers to our product line. Yeah? So you can see now how strategy tends to pick up parts of all of the sessions that we've done earlier relating to product and process, products and services, our processes, our operational processes, our HR. The strategy feeds into all of those areas, and we can see how these things are beginning to integrate and feed on one another. So this was the customer perspective. Then from our internal processes perspective, what business processes must we excel at if we are going to achieve our strategic objectives? Again, our vision. Again, remember, we're continually looking to stay within our vision. We don't want to set objectives that are straight outside of our vision. Again, reflect. How can we assess our internal processes? We might want to, the possible answers there is that we might map out all our processes, process mapping, yeah, calculate time and costs, looking for bottlenecks in our processes. Where are things, if we've only got, for instance, in our cake business, if we've only got one person who, I think we said ices the cake. I think what was the term we used about the person? Cake decorator. We only have one cake decorator, then that could be a bottleneck if we've got a lot of business coming through. So we look at our processes and we look for bottlenecks, and we look, how can we make it more efficient? This then will give rise to objectives such as improving efficiency and effectiveness of our process through research and development, look at ways of doing things better and new. Look at our production processes, look at our distribution processes, our marketing and our management processes. These are always, remember when we did the value chain, all of these kind of things were popping up in the value chain analysis to say how we can reduce our costs by managing these specific areas. And also we said that we not only reduce our direct costs, but also reduce our indirect costs, or our support costs as well, which will have an impact on our bottom line and the value that we deliver to our customers. So again, all we're seeing here is these are ideas that are integrating and feeding on each other, and there is a complete interdependency between the various areas of the business. Excellent. And then financial. So this is the fourth area. So we've worked our way up the four perspectives. Yeah. The four perspectives. How do we succeed to succeed financially? How should we manage our cash, income, and profits? And again, this almost feeds as we reflect how can we assess our financial performance through our cash flow statement, which we talked about, and our income statement, and keeping clear financial records. We're able to reflect on the performance of the business financially using those tools. Remember, there are other tools, but we're saying at this level, as gig entrepreneurs, these are the very basic tools that we can use to help us. And again, you can see how things are feeding back on each other and integrated, totally integrated. So then this will give rise to objectives like how can we sustain our current revenue streams? You know, each product, again, back to our operations, it says that our value chain, when we looked at our value chain, we saw that the bottom half of the value chain talked about essential primary processes which fed into specific products. We may want to add new products to that, which will bring in new revenue streams. So again, I'm relating back to other topics that we've dealt with. Creating new revenue streams by looking at different product lines or different markets. When we talked about marketing, different types of customers. We talked about new generation of customers that I referred to earlier. So all of these things that will enable us to either reduce the cost of our existing products or generate new products altogether. Yeah. And additional or further ideas of increasing our income stream by decreasing our costs, improving profit margins where those exist, or improving cash flow. So let's bring all this together. Let's bring this together. And I know we've talked about a lot of the things here, which have been, if you're new to this topic, could seem quite overwhelming, quite complex. But we have actually simplified this quite substantially. But I think when you get the study guide, give yourself time to go through it and practice some of these things, you'll find actually it fits together quite nicely. But it may be a lot to have taken in one hit. But let's go back to our cake example. Here we are, we identified our strengths, our weaknesses, our opportunities, our threats. Yeah, we dealt with this. Now let's overlay the balanced scorecard ideas here. So learning and growth. So we may decide that one of our objectives here is to train the team in decorating. Well, remember we said one of our weaknesses was that we only had one cake decorator. So if we can train a team in decorating, then we overcome a major weakness here, which then allows us, because we've got opportunity here, because we're saying there's a high demand for our products, then it allows us to be able to do more business, because that's become the decorating of the cakes. It has become a bottleneck. And if we can relieve that bottleneck, we can do more business and increase our revenue and our finances in the business. Can you see, can you beginning to see how this all fits together? Then in terms of our internal processes, we might decide that we want to hire a larger premises. Why? Because at the moment we've got one small kitchen and there may be 2 or 3 of us working in that very small kitchen. But if we can get larger premises, we can at the same time expand our design range and do more business going through the kitchen simultaneously, and we can be able to service more customers and throughput through our business. Then we talked about, we noticed the threat in our business, a dietary trends threat. And we're saying here, introduce, that could give rise to the objective to introduce a gluten-free range of cakes that would satisfy that specific demand if that was there, and address that specific threat. Then we've said in our customer focus, we could then focus on private events, yeah, increase our social media marketing, and deliver cakes to kids in costumes, which was something that came out from an earlier analysis. But again, we're speaking to the opportunity here for birthday cakes, and you know, we're looking at the opportunity here to differentiate the way that we deal with our birthday cakes. We are focusing on private events. Again, that's just an extension of that market space that we think we've got, and the social media, because we are dealing with a young profile of a customer. We think that we'll be able to reach them through social media marketing. Yeah. Excellent. And then our financial perspective, we recognize there was an opportunity, because we said opportunity, the bank's offering low-cost loans to SMEs, small and medium enterprises, so we can apply for a recovery loan to expand our operation. Revise customer credit policy, so rather than be a cash-only business, we see an opportunity here to expand our business opportunity by offering a credit policy for our customers. Maybe, you know, if our customers want to have a big birthday, they might want to set aside money each month to pay for that, or that big anniversary, or the, you know, the 10th birthday or something like that. So we may offer some kind of a prepayment option through a PayPal account. PayPal account allows us to accept payments in an easier form. So again, customers can lay money aside for these big events rather than have to pay for it all the time at one time. And the PayPal account makes it easier for them to pay for these, gives them another opportunity or another stream, a way of paying for the service. So I hope that you can see from this is that the integrated nature of the gig model, why we have gone for the topics that we have in that gig entrepreneur model, why the balance scorecard relates very, very closely to that, and is actually speaking the same language, and how using the situation analysis as a SWOT analysis here allows us to pinpoint the kind of strategic objectives that fit in with our mission, vision, and values, which help the business to grow and develop. And we don't do things randomly and in a disjunctured way, but a very tight, integrated way. We bring things together. Okay. Okay, let's do another chat. how would your planning be improved by using the balanced scorecard approach? And just if you're able to get your head around it, if there's what do you think? How could you do you think this could be useful to you and helping you to improve your planning? I'm interested, just just initial reactions. Right, Simba, seeing your question. If you have to engage a partner for a project, what strategic health checks do you need to have in place when assessing the prospective strategic partner? Well, this is a really good question, because then what you're saying is that the strategic partner, if it's a strategic partner, then presumably it's a long-term engagement. You're going to be doing a lot of work together. Do a SWOT analysis, do a situational analysis on this potential partner. You know, what are they doing? What's their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are the opportunities and threats there? And look at their SWOT situation analysis and compare it with yours. Are you strong in the same areas? Are you weak in the same areas? Are you facing the same opportunities and threats? If you are, then what's the point of the strategic alignment? There must be a complementary, a complementing of each other's strengths and weaknesses. You both got to be able to bring things to the table that will strengthen each other. If it doesn't, then there is a question as why are you doing this? And then the health checks, the SWOT analysis, then if you follow that through, you should be able to identify why are they looking for a strategic partner, and are there inherent weaknesses in their business that would endanger your business? And these are the kind of discussions and analysis that you can do that allows you to vet a potential partner. So yeah, these are useful tools. These are useful tools that can help you to make those kind of insights. Okay. Seeing, and thank you, Charlton's talking about that he can see how this will improve his planning and do it in a way that allows him to allocate resources and time in an appropriate way. And I think it's absolutely right. It does allow you to do that. Now, I'm sure that many of you, once you've had a chance to go through these notes again and start to practice some of the exercises that we've gone through, this will become more clearer to you. Okay, so thank you for that. Let's move on. We've covered the problem is we've covered a lot of ground here, and I think that's it's difficult to appreciate that, but we've covered a lot of ground in a very short space of time. Even though it appears that it looks complicated for sure, but give yourself a chance to engage with the notes and the study guide, and you'll find that actually it's time very well spent. Let me quickly go through the last, we've clearly run out of time, but we'll quickly go through the last idea, which is scenario planning, which we've thrown in here really as an alternative planning approach, and to introduce you to it in a short and easy way. As an alternative to the more detailed balanced scorecard, the scenario planning approach is different and interesting. Scenario planning is about making plausible assumptions on what the future is likely to be. Yeah. So, for instance, It's about making plausible assumptions of what the future is going to be and how your business environment might change if certain events take place. And within the context of the kind of coronavirus, I think scenario planning is a really interesting tool to bring out here, because the coronavirus hit the global economy out from nowhere, and no one seemed to have been ready for it. So scenario planning is one way of actually engaging blue sky thinking to say, what if something happened that totally changed the landscape, totally threw us off balance? What should we do? The whole scenario planning approach was devised by the Shell Oil Company in the 1960s. And if the urban myths are true, it was used to predict in the 1970s the emergence of the OPEC cartel. OPEC is the Middle Eastern oil cartel, where all the Middle Eastern oil countries got together and created a cartel which fixed the price of oil. Oil up until that cartel came into place was very, very cheap. The price was very, very depressed because there were so many nations who were producing oil. But the cartel got together, OPEC got together, and they stabilized the price. And what else? And not only that did they stabilize the price, but they controlled the supply of oil onto the market and allowed the price to drive up and thereby increase their profits. And we understand from anecdotal history that Shell were one of the few companies that predicted that could happen and were in a position to take corrective action. Okay, so because we're out of time, I'm not going to engage in this particular chat. When do we use scenario planning in our day-to-day lives? I'll answer the questions myself. I mean, if we pack a jacket in our car, and even in Namibia where it's perpetually hot, in case it gets cold, that's in a sense a scenario plan, because we're saying, yeah, although it's always hot, sometimes the temperature can drop dramatically. We may find ourselves in a situation where the temperature drops and we need some warm clothes. I drive a saloon car, and I don't have any intention of being out in the desert in a saloon car, 4x4 maybe, but not a saloon car. Yet, when I came to Namibia and saw how dry it was, I got a jerry can, a 5-liter jerry can, and I filled it with petrol, and it's in my car. Yeah? Just in case I find myself in a situation where I've driven on a long stretch, because there's hundreds of kilometers between places in Namibia, and I've run out of petrol. So I want to have a backup. So that's an example of scenario planning. You know, you may drive for a very long stretch thinking that the next petrol station you're going to get to, you'll get there on time, no problem, only to find that actually it is closed. And the next petrol station is a couple of 100 kilometers away. So it's easy to run out of petrol in those kind of scenarios. Okay, so those are examples of small types of scenario planning. This particular example, I'm going to show a video here which talks about, and it's called Trump Ignored the Pandemic Playbook. You'll find this really interesting.
So for those of us who served in the Obama administration and worked on the Ebola response, it was a really enlightening and jarring and frightening experience, because I think it helped us to understand just how vulnerable the world remained to a disease that could be a lot scarier than Ebola. Ebola was a very scary disease if you caught it. but the chances of catching it, the chances of it spreading on a global level were very small. So I think a lot of us came away from that thinking, my goodness, we are nowhere near where we need to be for something that would be much more transmissible. And so there was a lot of energy in the last few years of the Obama administration to try and put in place what we could to leave the government in a better place. One was to set up a team at the White House that was solely dedicated to health security preparedness and response. The idea there was having a cell of people at the White House who could pull together all of the different parts of the federal government that had a role in this. And, you think of all those parts. It's Homeland Security for the immigration and border stuff. It's the FAA for the airlines and the air travel. It's, of course, CDC and Health and Human Services. It's USAID for the overseas part. It's a very complex operation, and you need that core of expertise at the White House that know where those capabilities sit, and the government knows how to make them work together. Then that new team at the White House pulled together what we call the playbook. That was a document that laid out the different stages of readiness that the federal government would need to go through. Okay, here are the indicators that suggest that you're in the lowest phase of activation. And if you see these indicators, you need to move up to this phase of activation. And here are the key questions you need to ask. Here are the different parts of the government you need to be talking to. One of the things that was identified as an early priority was testing. PPE availability, personal protective equipment, was another priority focus within that document because we knew that was an area of potential weakness. And so that would have to be an early focus if we saw a novel virus overseas. And it was very explicit in the document that something like COVID should set off alarm bells. The document specifically talked about a novel virus, meaning a virus we hadn't seen before, for which we had no medical countermeasures, and which was showing the ability to efficiently spread from human to human. It was very explicit in the document that that sort of scenario needed to trigger great concern and a lot of active preparation. And I think what we saw instead, partly because they ignored that playbook, was that scenario emerged overseas, and the main response of the Trump administration initially was just to shut down travel from China and to basically assure the American public that the risk was low, but not to trigger the sort of domestic readiness measures that were very explicitly laid out in that document. So initially when the Trump administration came in,
I don't want to get into the politics of it, but I think it's a fantastic example of scenario planning. Yeah. And taking a view that an unthinkable set of events might take place, and something that you hadn't foreseen unless you had thought about it. If it begins to happen, then you're in a position where you've made ready, or you're able to transition quickly because you actually, in the back of your mind, you've set up systems and processes in place just in case something like this should happen. So the benefits of scenario planning is that it helps make business more adaptable, resilient, and sustainable. It helps make business more responsive to opportunities, and it reduces risks and costs associated with unforeseen events. There's 4 stages in the scenario planning cycle. Like I said, I'm going to try and do this very quickly. Identify the driving forces of this new event. Identify critical uncertainties. Sorry, let me just identify critical uncertainties. Develop a plausible scenarios and discuss implementation, implications, and paths. So identify driving forces. You need to brainstorm and discuss effects on your business of big shifts that are likely to happen. So in this case, the way you do the analysis is through what we call PEST analysis, politics, economy and environment, society, and technology. So you look at it from a big picture point of view. What could happen in politics? What could happen in the economy or the environment? What could happen in the society? What could happen in technology that totally throw my business a curveball or totally throws my business into disarray? So like a coronavirus. So let's try and apply this into our cake business. A political it's a polarization politically. In the economic, we got economic recession, we got environmental, we got we predict some kind of water restriction. In social, we think demand for gluten-free products, and technological, we see the emergence of 5G. Two, then we need to identify what are the critical uncertainties that's going to impact our business. Pick the two most important uncertainties that would have the greatest impact on our business. So our cake business, the two that would have a great impact on us is the environmental, water restrictions. We need water to make cakes, and social demand, and the social factor is the demand for gluten-free products. Then the third part of our scenario plan process is to develop plausible scenarios, draw an axis for each of your chosen uncertainties to create a matrix with 4 scenarios. So, okay, so we've said that we've got on one axis severe water restrictions, another axis massive demand for gluten-free products. So with severe water restrictions and no demand for gluten-free products, severe restriction and massive demand for gluten-free products. So we've just created a matrix, a 4x4 matrix here, with these restrictions or are not. And then we're saying for each of these, what would we put in place? What remedial situations would we put in place? So consider each of the implications of your scenario and revise your objectives accordingly. Build a strategy that will stand the test for all 4 scenarios. So we've got severe water restrictions and no demand for gluten-free, so we need to install some kind of rainwater tank, for instance. Where we've got water restriction, massive demand for gluten-free, install rainwater tanks and source gluten-free flour, and etc., etc. So this is the one where both those things happen. There's water restriction and there's a move towards gluten-free products. We need to have the rainwater tank and source gluten-free flour. Otherwise, we're going to find ourselves out of step and losing business. Okay, so we could suggest some scenarios. Let's have a chat. We could suggest some scenarios that we could use to future-proof our plans, and that's the point. It's how we can future-proof our plans by taking a scenario approach. Again, I'm conscious of the time, and so I will forego the chat, go to our summary, and just say in this session we learned about mission, vision, and values. I apologize for the fact this has been a very long session. We've done a situation analysis that we've looked at and using SWOT analysis. And then we did the strategic planning, and we introduced the balanced scorecard and scenarios. And the balanced scorecard is quite complex, but we've simplified that as much as possible to help you to be able to use it in your small business or emerging business or your gig entrepreneurial enterprises. Next steps. Thank you very much. Ideas for your self-study. Remind you that there's a reading list and your study guides will give you all the slides and allow you to make your way through the detail in a much more measured pace rather than this hurried pace that we've had engaged in certainly today. We will probably offer workshops. For instance, if you wanted to learn how to use the balanced scorecard in more depth, we'll probably offer workshops where we just focus on a specific tool or a specific part, maybe operations, for instance, or design thinking. So we're just focusing on one specific tool or idea that we've introduced over these last 6 weeks, and it has been 6 weeks. Thank you very much for staying with us. Remember Facebook, get chatting and get engaging. I'm seeing some great comments on here. We need this on our Facebook. We need this these comments on our, thank you very much, but we also need these on our Facebook. We need these on our, definitely our Facebook and our website, the rest of it, so that people know that there are good things happening in Namibia, that all the institutions are not failing, that there are institutions in Namibia that do succeed, and that there are people trying to do things to make Namibia better. So we really appreciate these comments, but let's have them also in the public spaces where people can see that, let's support what Namibia is doing. Thank you. Congratulations, all of you that have managed to stay with us for this whole 6 sessions. The certificate will certify that you have completed this course, and thank you very much for being a part of it. This is the whole entrepreneur capacity model, the course summary, all the tools that we introduced you to during this session. We would love the feedback. We need the feedback. This, from a point of view of Namibia and Namibia PLC, if you like, the Namibia business, we need critical mass. We need a critical mass of people engaging in this kind of thinking. It will transform Namibia business landscape. Rather than panic, people panicking because they're losing their jobs, the rest of it, if we can get people to start thinking in terms of these areas and in terms of a structured a way of identifying new business ideas and taking those business ideas on and managing them well, we can transform Namibia PLC. Okay, and so what we really need from you is your feedback, your pictures, your ideas. Send it back to us and tell your friends about it. Your Facebook pages, your Twitters and the rest of it. Engage other people and tell them, get on here, find out how to manage your small business. If you don't have any ideas about what you want to do as a small business, come on our design thinking course that will help you to generate new ideas. And then once you've got that idea, it will help you to manage that as a business entity and keep it going. It doesn't matter how small it is. Namibia needs business people. It needs entrepreneurs. It needs gig entrepreneurs. And we are doing our best to make sure that happens. So give us your feedback, tell us what worked, tell us what didn't work, and help us to make it better. But most important, tell other people, get on this course and empower them in themselves with the techniques and skills they need to be gig entrepreneurs. Thank you very, very much for staying with us, and all the best. All the best with your gig enterprises. Remember, for those of you that finish, we're able to advertise your business on our website, on our Facebook site. So we're more than happy to promote your business on our Facebook site. We want more and more people. We need hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, thousands of people engaging in this. That's what's going to change Namibia's fortunes and future. Thank you very much for this, and God bless. Take care.